So with obviously the fact that I'm using everyone's like character names, because as you know, I don't want to be using people's original IDs and that stuff, because my friends all are like, we want real jobs, Liv, and we can't really be associated with all your crap that you talk about. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, I fully understand that.
Yes.
But I've started to realise that since like you and my doc and my specialist, you're all very professional, highly sort of specialists, and you're allowing it. And so when I'm with Elaine, she's fine with me using her name because that's her name. And like she never thinks about the fact that every time she calls Canberra for like, that is the funniest look on my therapist has the best facial expressions ever.
It's got floaties.
If I was actually willing to film people, she'd be fucking awesome on this camera, yeah? Highly recommend you all get yourself a therapist as awesome as mine, all right? Yes, you are. And all my doctors. So, but yeah, she literally doesn't speak a word to me until I've walked in, set everything up, got it ready, and then she starts. It's unbelievable.
She's just become familiar with
She's just
it now.
so used to it. Yeah, I know. So first things
You seem frazzled. What's up?
Well, I'm late for starters. There's a lot going on. I've been tossing and turning whether I was going to film this and share it or not. So I'm obviously filming because I film everything. Whether this one is shared is depending on how I get through it. So life is good. I'm happy. I think I told you doing like random pickups for my mechanic and stuff like that, which is helping me pay for chiropractor appointments.
Good.
I saw my chiropractor yesterday, and again, oh Jesus, that's money. I only just washed my bloody shoes yesterday. Anyway, sorry. So he has been, so I saw the chiropractor, and the rates are all going up again, but he's like, we're still willing to give you the discount if you keep buying in bulk. So like I talk about abundancy and the fact that we're all abundant if you start vibing on the right level constantly, because obviously not only do I believe it, I want to help other people see it's real. You know, it takes no effort, no time, and no nothing. It's just a literal retraining of your brain, right? I say this because I literally bought a $10,500 car on the 22nd of June. I now have enough money to like pay literally to fly overseas if I want to go on holiday. Since then, like
where are you going?
I'm not saying that's so I've worked out what I'm doing. Yeah, I worked out all the way through to when the last day of the exams will be for my very last unit.
Yes.
So I will be officially finished uni the last day of exams for trimester 3 at the 16th of Feb, and because it's over summer. So that's obviously the very last day. They've changed how they're doing exams. It's utterly hilarious. I think I'm really quite clever, if I will be honest. So, but
always, but not just because of this. Yes,
I'm more clever at getting things that I need than I am actually doing the work. I will say that, and it's interesting.
You are resourceful. Yes,
I am more proud of how resourceful I think I am than the grades I'm getting at the moment.
Okay.
So basically what school's done, is because everything's online, it's all open book, they've decided we're not calling them exams anymore, we're calling them quizzes. They are, no word of a lie, they're exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
With a name change, right?
It's like a very smart rebrand for anxiety, isn't it?
It really is, but it's what's happened is, and so I had my own issues and I left the group because, you know me, I fuck myself up sometimes. But all good. Anyway, because I was sharing and helping people and getting shit remarks back, and you know me, I don't always react well, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, with my disability plans in place, so there's different things for each one. So obviously, if I'm doing like a written assignment, I can get 2 weeks without needing to go to a doctor. It's already in place. With the actual quizzes that they used to call a quiz, you would get an extra 25% to an extra 50% of time, whatever it is, added. Now, at the beginning of this trimester, I went through and checked everything, because as soon as they were like, oh, this unit doesn't have any exams, but then explained how the unit is, which truthfully, I think all units should be changed to the way it is. So what they've done now, so I'm studying psychopathology, turns out having the amount of mental illnesses I have is winning for me.
It actually would help because you have had a lot of education around
Oh,
diagnostic symptomatology.
You should have seen the lecture. I was in a seminar and we were talking.
Like, actually,
well,
diagnostically.
We were doing protective factors of the psychological 4Ps, and I was like, well, I've got 8 of these different things, and I'm using how much knowledge I've got from my own problems. And
did you present your formulation?
I presented the way I talk to you. I said to the lecturer, I said, I've got so many of these, it's helping me win. And he starts laughing in front, like all on seminar, and he goes, well, that's a definite, real positive way of flipping it. And I'm like, yeah,
and good cognitive
would have known?
Yes.
Good so
reframe.
Many.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Wow.
And I obviously want your professional opinion. I've obviously asked Elaine, but I was officially diagnosed with clinical depression, right? Years ago. Mm-hmm. You're a therapist, you know this, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, obviously I'm studying psychopathology, and I now have a copy of the DSM. And I can tell you, I know, whatever, I literally no longer meet any of the requirement.
I know.
Wait, what do you mean you know? Why did she say this earlier? I have so many other issues, I'm aware of that, but I said to Elaine, I'm like, is it possible I've cured my depression? Is it remission? I have gone through everything so many times.
I don't meet it. Is remission.
I don't meet that.
That's the whole point of what you aim for with treatment, whether it's psychological or pharmacological. You aim to alleviate symptoms. When you go to the doctor when you have a cold,
yep,
you go to the doctor to try to alleviate the symptomatology and resolve the cold. Is there something still inside you that lends itself towards, vulnerability to illness? Yeah.
Sure.
And do we know depression to be cyclic? Yes. There's, clinical depression's old language with, major depressive episodes.
That's what my assignment's on.
Episodes finish. Sometimes there's a series. Sometimes there's only a pilot. Sometimes there's numerous seasons.
This is very helpful, because one of the questions on the discussion board I read yesterday was, we're supposed to be analysing this person with major depression episode, and the questions are we using major disorder, like major depressive disorder, or episode? And it's much of a much, and it's
it depends on the history, and it depends on their situation, and all that.
Well, we're basically needing we have to watch a movie through the eyes of a clinician, and I just basically I'm putting myself in your shoes and be like, what would you do?
What would I do?
Well, that's the thing. I've got to get through
somebody
it all.
has a depression, and for example, you meet someone when they're 18 years old, and they come to see you, and as a clinician, and you treat depression.
Mm-hmm.
That
makes sense.
And then you resolve the depression. They might do medicines for a while. They might resolve it with psychology. Mm-hmm. And then, you do a course of treatment. Things resolve. Off she goes, and we'll assume it's a she in this instance. Off she goes into the la la land, and you say, cool, call me if you need me. Or come back if you need something. And then 4 or 5 years later, she's, relationship breakdown, she comes back.
Yeah,
she
makes
does
sense.
2 or 3 more sessions. You building on skills. A lot of people who find a therapist that they trust and know, you can skip history, you can just do an update, because you've got all that historical knowledge that goes with the patient. The engagement's already pre-established. Kind of shortcuts a little bit.
Every time you start with a new therapist is shit.
And then you can build on the skills you've already established, boost things up, do refreshers, introduce new skills, and then off they go again to the la la land. 10 years later, they come back, they've had a miscarriage.
I get it.
Now each of these things are situational, and so you'd have to look at the symptomatology and match it. Is it an episode? Is it an adjustment disorder? Is it a major depressive episode? Which over the course of life has had numerous. I've got baby wipes if you want some.
I just don't want it all over your floor. And I seriously just clean the fuckers. Must be.
So that's the thing. You have to look at the history, look at the timelines, and look at those things. But you know that because like
this is the bit.
It's like you.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But minus the situational stuff, like it hasn't been that your situation has gone badly. It's that it's brain chemistry and stuff.
It's interesting because, like, for example, and this is where I get stuck all the time. Yeah, for I reckon the first time in the 7.5 years I've been doing this, and this is where I get stuck. Yeah, so the way they've structured it for this unit is basically what they've done is the structure used to be first assignment was a lit review, second assignment was the movie one, which is what I'm going to be studying. Well, I've already started, but the one I'm doing, and then the end of trimester exam for the entire 10 weeks, right?
Yeah.
What they've done is split the exam, right? So we've already set the first part. So it's actually good. And instead of having to learn the entire 10 weeks and do one, we did week 1 to 5 and then did one. Now we're on to the written assignment. And then the last quiz will be week 6 to 10. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah.
So this is where
makes it easier
I
to swallow,
think it gets interesting, and how I cannot fathom how I could possibly be the only student who has thought of this. But again, I helped everyone. I'm not in the group. I'm not helping anymore. So it's not a bad thing.
It's a long story. Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, I rang my disability person and I was like, so can we both agree that really the only thing that has changed between a quiz and an exam is a name change? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, because you'd agree with me that for the entire time COVID was happening and all these exams were called exams, were open book. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, so I've looked at my disability plan and I was like, it's currently saying I get an extra 25% on top of a quiz, which I said to her was strange because I know for the last couple of trimesters I've gotten an extra 50% on quiz, and it's obviously just the unit chairs that have done it, right?
You mean like time to take the quiz?
So yeah,
so if you have 2 hours, you get more.
Yeah, so the quiz was 90 minutes, and because it's a quiz, they're calling it, if your disability plan says an extra 25% to an extra 50%, that time is added.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, you may probably remember, since I've asked you and Elaine to fill out hundreds of pieces of paperwork for me for uni.
Thank you so much.
I know you love it. So I've got all the paperwork, both you and Elaine, clearly that states every exam that I do, I must have an extra 90 minutes allocated.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but yes, I'm sure it says something like that.
Yeah, because I was told they don't do more than an hour unless it is specifically and I've got multiple documents from you guys, yeah? So I'm on the phone to my disability lady, who I fucking love, and I'm like, so please tell me I'm not losing my mind. I'm like, same thing as last year, it's the same thing as now. All they've done is split it in half. I was like, it's an exam as far as I'm concerned. And she's like, yeah, I agree. And I'm like, awesome. So you're going to get all that time that's added from my exam to this quiz, aren't you? And she's like, that's not really how it works. I'm like, so I need to go back and get even more paperwork? She's like, no, don't worry about that. I'll call the manager. So she just was like...
I was like, I will throw my pillow at you.
Yeah. So she was like, leave it with me. I'll call my boss and I'll call you straight back, yeah? Which is what she did. And she's like, yep, no, we're cool. We just decided to call it double time. Right? So I got...
This is the maximum, not the requirement. Like, if you finish, you're done. Like, don't sit there.
No, but you haven't finished the story. I was feeling so happy and so proud and so up to date and so ready. And it didn't matter how much fucking time in the world I have. Same thing happens, right? First question off the bat, it was like every answer was correct. And I know that they have multiple ones that can be correct. You got to choose the right one. I had everything I needed. And, well, let's just say I think I submitted it with maybe a couple minutes to spare. and I cried, had a panic attack, paced. It was bad. It was really bad. And I'm sure you can appreciate in the fact that it was so bad when I was so ready in my mind for it. It threw me. It's throwing me, as I'm sure you can appreciate. Yeah. Because I just wasn't.
When was it?
Wednesday. Just been. And I know that there's obviously special consideration and all that, but it's past all that. And it's not even about that. Like, I have literally no idea how I've gone because it's multiple choice and short question. And even though I had the answers there and I knew a lot of them, as you and everybody fucking knows, it's like I go blank and I can't make them come out. And I still have the panic. Like, I was crying and pacing and having an actual panic attack.
Can I ask you a hard question?
You're my therapist, so I would hope so. Yeah.
Do you really think that the extra time is useful?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way I would have submitted it in not a chance. I would have actually have had to have called this uni and said I can't. I would have had it. No. 100%. If you'd seen me, you'd know like.
So it's anxiety from the very beginning. It's not the sitting and overthinking it and running out and feeling overwhelmed by
no, it's all of it.
By the clock. Because the clocks are not always good.
But it's all combined what you just said.
Okay. So this is an executive functioning ADHD type of issue that I think is going on for you.
Yeah.
So this is something, one, to discuss with your psychiatrist as well. But two, let's talk about some practical implementations. Not that I think we're going to have to redo it because I'm sure you've passed because you always tell me you never do well and then you always do well.
I'm praying that's the case. I won't be able to reset it. It's past supplementary, whatever the fuck it is anyway.
Okay. All right, let's look at practical things. So for kids, because a lot of the literature is written for kids.
Yeah, I get that.
So don't, please.
No, I know.
But it suits because
I don't know fuck all about ADHD except that it's fucking with my head.
It's targeted to classrooms.
True.
Okay. So people have, so for example, let me try to think of something that'll work for you here. Okay. We're going to utilize so I'm old.
Oh, bullshit.
Okay.
But whatever.
So I'm old. There were these things, they're called pens. They're not electronic. Okay. So there's pens and paper.
That's
and
what I use.
You put them together and then they make words. Sometimes. Okay. You need to get different colored pens or like one of those 4 clicky pen things and stuff.
You should, in my car.
I'm a stationary queen.
Oh, me too. In my car, I've got all of my schoolwork with me because my camera is broke. Like, I've got to go and get this fixed. I'm going straight to the phone repair place.
What's wrong with it?
Wait until I show you the back of the camera. And even the front of it's not quite right, so it's somewhat blurry. The whole thing needs to be fixed. It's costing $200 to be fixed.
Is it just time to get a new phone?
That's what she said. She was like, maybe get a new phone. I was like, it's too much that I can't deal with. Just need it fixed. It's the same lady I always go to. She's lovely.
And, okay, the second thing.
I have been doing grounding.
Good.
I've been trying to really ground.
Those are important things to do when you're emotionally distressed, but this is about the ADHD functioning, not about the anxiety. So 2 different functions.
Yeah.
Both.
Mm-hmm.
So yes to both. Okay. So something that kids find useful is that you have timed tasks.
Isn't that what we're saying causes me my issues?
Yeah. But it's things like, for example, imagine a little kid let's imagine a 12-year-old boy with ADHD, and his parent says to him, why don't you go and get into your pajamas and brush your teeth and then come back. Okay. So then they'll go and like put on half their pajamas and then forget what was happening and start doing something else and half do this and then
that's
be like,
me all the time, all day, every day. That is me.
And so it's about targeting individual tasks.
Can I give you an exact example? Because I know we're running out of time because I was super late. So yesterday, I had my friend call me at 6:45.
Yep.
I was up, breakfast, coffee, meds taken by 7:05. I tanned, I showered, washed, I did everything. I was ready and set up with my assignment, paperwork, pens, paper, the whole thing.
All the colors, yeah.
I had everything ready to go.
Yeah.
And I think that was around about 10:30, 11 that I sat down to start. I think it got to about 7 p.m. and I wasn't really sure what the fuck I'd done, but none of my assignment.
Okay. So
and
we
I
have
fully lost hours. It was like it just lost hours.
and without really focusing. So the thing is with this little kid over here, as well as with you, is that you have a complex task sitting in front of you. I've told this kid over here to go and get dressed and brush his teeth and then come back to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I've given him 3 things to do and he's half done one because, and then, we have to do one thing at one time.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm struggling with because I'm doing what that kid example
So
is.
with that kid, you say, or we use like the task lists and you check off one. So
where do I get one of them from?
Etsy, Officeworks, Whiteboard,
Oh, yeah.
Make one. Yeah. Make one. It's more
Yeah,
fun.
I think I've started doing
and it's like
that.
brush teeth, tick.
Oh my God, I literally created one for myself last night. I'm nearly 38 and
No, but so what?
it's
You know,
so
the same executive
embarrassing.
functioning issues that happen for a 12-year-old boy are the same things that are happening in your brain.
I think the biggest thing, it's embarrassed.
60-year-old people. So what?
I'm feeling a lot of shame and regret and a lot of feelings at the moment. And the regret, weirdly enough, is coming from missing people that I had as friends who I ended friendships with because of things I wasn't dealing with at the time, like say Rachel, who I could never see in person and we only spoke over the phone, and say Graham, who I liked, having our friendship, but I couldn't deal with his morals when it comes to dating, and just my morals are so fucking high. Sometimes I think they're not, or like, do you know what I mean? I've got these feelings of I had all these people in my life, and why did I do those things? Does it make, it's all coming up.
So, yes, and we can look at that. That's a tangent from where we're at now.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, we'll put that there.
Mm-hmm. So bringing me back to this assignment, because I have to do it.
For a kid, right? So
yeah,
the task is brush your teeth. He goes and brushes teeth. He comes back, tick. He go get dressed. Next one says go put on PJs. Goes off, puts on PJs, comes back, tick box. Or those slider ones that you can get off Etsy and stuff like that. Very easy to just get a laminated piece of paper or write on chalk pens on your windows, and it's fine.
I bought some stuff to do it, so it's
perfect. Good. So the thing is with the exam is that you have this book or whatever, it's probably online, who knows.
Yeah.
And you have this perpetual task process, complex task. You do this one, you do that, then you come back to this, you go over there, you flick. Well, it's back in the old days, you flick, and you fill this in, and you do the next one. And to be honest with you, I think it's much more difficult now online because historically, neurodivergent brains could do, question 17, go back to question 3, blah, blah, blah. Now you can't do that. It's all in this progression. Otherwise, you lose your work or press save and mess it up.
Yeah, and that's one of my biggest fears.
So do one task at a time. Question 1 on the screen, and you have a timer, because the issue is that you get stuck on certain things and then you get distracted by other things. So we have a small window where I'm asking you to do this.
Okay, that
so
makes
brush
sense.
your teeth. Question 1. Tick box, done.
Yes.
Bing. Question 2, tick.
Yep, I get that.
Question 2, do your go put on your pajamas. Question 2, answer this thing. You got 4 and 5 minutes.
Interesting.
Ding. And you're just doing question 2. So you have small timed tasks. So small task allocations instead of here's your exam.
Yeah.
Break it into tolerable chunks for your brain and tolerable chunks for your anxiety.
Oh, I try every time, and it really is just like I've chunked it all down.
One of the things that happens in schools now is that they actually use timers.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
See, I thought the fact that I could see the clock was causing me the problems.
But you see the whole clock. And so it's, in this instance, like 3 hours of asking you to concentrate. No way, I can't concentrate for 3 hours. Look how many times I fidget during your one appointment.
True.
And I don't have ADHD, although that's questionable.
It's funny you say that because I constantly am fidgeting these days. I'm fidgety, real restless. It's weird.
Which leads us to issue number 2. So small timed tasks, and then get your fidgets out, fidget and do your task, because you're sort of distracting this part of the brain and giving this one space.
That makes sense.
So get like back in the old days, you're a stationery queen, right? You get the pens, like I work with kids and stuff.
Every color.
You got the pens with the colors. You've got the fuzzy things. You've got the fidget spinners. You've got the all things. You put it, and you have like this collection picks, like, and you've probably seen me do it.
I do. I know. I've actually got more sensory stuff at home now too since talking. I love it.
It makes me focus better because I can, all the other crap that goes on in my head, because like I sit here and think, I'm thirsty. We're normal humans.
No, I get that.
And I do this, and it gives my brain something to concentrate on, so I can listen to you and sit here for the hour and pay attention. When I do exams, there's this expectation that you just sit. Well, not me, but I'm well past it. Never again. You sit there and you listen and you do. And when we do conferences, oh my God, a conference for 9 hours on the internet, like it's a killer, right? I get up, I sit in a spinny chair, I fidget and wiggle, I get things, I play with stuff. There's a reason we have coloring or other distraction tasks when we're talking about trauma or when we're doing things, because we need people to have this separation a little bit. Use them.
Yeah, that makes sense. It does.
So we're going to break up the tasks into one timed small task. Way easier to do one question than it is to climb Mount Everest, right?
100%.
Use the sensory stuff we know you have ADHD, so let's use the sensory stuff to kind of calm the ADHD beast, although that's a very negative connotation, but okay.
I know what you mean. What about the person I asked you about with the whole IQ testing and that sort of stuff? Like,
yes, so the IQ testing, let's talk about why, because it's a very expensive proposition for what will that get you. Because unless you have exceptional or not exceptional.
That's the one I'm worried about, because of the whole personality one we did last year and the parts that we filled in for our own IQ test, and it was going through that and the results and everything that I got, which is when people started telling me how obvious it was that I was suffering from dyslexia. And I don't...
So an IQ test won't show you dyslexia?
No, it's more about...
It'll show you, if you want my opinion, of
I want your opinion.
If you
I'm
were
trying
to do an
figure
IQ
out,
test.
yeah.
So the IQ test is things like, how are these two items alike? Or how are these two words alike? And you have to use conceptualizing and comprehension.
That's why I want to do it.
Vocabulary and stuff. Well, how is, for example, I'm going to make one up that's hopefully not on the test. I'm trying to remember what's not on there. How is a bird and a mouse alike?
That's a really random question. Okay, I see what you're saying. Bird and a mouse alike, they both eat what they could catch, I would say, but but it's not about the dyslexia per se. It's more about the fact that I'm now so heightenedly aware of so many things. I'm constantly aware of when it's happening now, and it's really fucking with me.
I think that your results would show strengths and weaknesses in how you function, which I think are going to be a very classic, traditional profile for ADHD.
I just feel like I don't feel confident anymore. I feel like I've lost my confidence in how intelligent I am.
It will validate that your intelligence is intact.
There's something I've wanted to talk to you about that I'm just so fucking embarrassed, and the part I didn't want to share, but this is the whole point of sharing everything, but it's like I have forgotten literally everything that I ever learned ever before I started this journey of awakening 7 and a bit years ago, because I have people talked about things with me that are the most absolute obvious stuff that anybody should know, and I go blank.
And I think that's what happens when it's the ADHD stuff.
And how do I fix it?
Fix is not a great word.
That's what I mean. All of everything else that I'm doing, I'm feeling like I'm really kicking life's ass. And I have plans for after uni. I have, I'm excited about life. It's this feeling of I'm so stupid, and I know I'm not, but it's messing with me a lot, to the point where I'm at the, like, I would love more than anything to be able to go back to uni at some point. And as it stands, don't look at me like that. How many years did you go?
Less than you.
I'm slow and steady, yeah, but at least I'll have no student debt by the end of it.
That's true.
But
I think that an IQ profile for you is going to, so it goes with your vocabulary, your verbal comprehension, which is, I think, wonderful. Your processing speed.
Mm-mm. Oh my God, that's the thing. I am like the best person in hindsight. Yeah. But it's like in the moment, everything just goes over me. I'm just not grounded enough. It's just, I've been working my ass off to become this better version, and I know I am one, but at the same time, now I can see every single fucking flaw there is.
So processing speed and instances where things are a little bit difficult, and so you see with people with ADHD, you see that, a task is challenging, and then there's almost like a, let's move on to something else. And so it's almost like they don't even score, they score terribly on certain scales because they're just like, okay, I don't like this one, move on. But other times they score very accurately, very appropriately based on things, but processing speed, like it takes a little bit longer initiation, and that pressure, anxiety of tasked times, sometimes depending on the person.
Mm-hmm.
But you see a very clear pattern around processing speed and about performance.
Okay.
But I think it's actually kind of all there. Like your intellect, your cognitive ability is intact. You don't have an intellectual disability there. And
do you think I communicate well enough? Because I feel like I don't communicate at all well anymore. I feel like everybody misunderstands me. Everything I'm trying to do to help people is coming out wrong. Sometimes I really feel like I should just become mute.
With me, you communicate very well. Do I think that in other times when you're not very clear about what you're trying to articulate, do you skip bits? Do you, or do you over detail bits and then people kind of lose track of it? Yes, I think that happens in your day to day, but you communicate very well with me.
Okay. Good to know. So there's a way to do it. I'm just missing something in between, obviously.
Well, you do it really well with me.
Well, just remember that, I guess, won't I?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to turn this off.